roll, please.
Mrs. Ennis,
Here.
Mr. Dawson.
Here.
Mr. Habermill,
Here.
Mr. Harding,
Here.
and Mr. Rice.
He's asking for it. All right, have the Citizens of the Month come forward, please. All right, this month we're lucky again to introduce some Citizens of the Month whose teachers nominated them for doing something very nice in the classroom. And I'll have them come up and introduce themselves.
I am Joseph in the second grade classroom, and my teacher is Mrs. Garcia. And when I grow up, I want to be a sport trader or sports player. My name is Jacob. I'm in first grade. My teacher is Miss Schultz. I want to be a baseball player when I grow up. My name is Cora, and I'm in first grade. My teacher is Mrs. Sprinkle. And when I grow up, I want to be a veterinarian. I'm Sierra. Kindergarten. Mrs. Boone. A cheerleader. My name is Rylan. I'm in second grade. My teacher is Miss Murray.
You don't know? That's all right, you got lots of time. Okay, very good. All right, now if you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Citizens of the Month will lead us in that, and then we'll have a moment of silence. All right, you guys ready? All right, on to item number 5, student liaison update, and Mr. Rice is out of town for business, so I will be filling in for him on this. And tonight we have the pleasure and honor of having a number of VHS students who had a fantastic weekend in different competitions and did quite well, so we want to commend them on a job well done. We've got the girls bowling team, we've got some indoor track participants, and speech and debate as well. So we'll start with the bowling team. You want to come up and introduce yourself and tell a little bit about how you did?
Hi, I'm Brittany Wind, and this is Hannah Modick, and we are seniors on the varsity bowling team. And there are 3 other seniors, but they couldn't be here tonight because they had work. So Hannah's going to talk about bowling.
Okay, so this year we went undefeated. It's our second year in a row that we've been undefeated. So we won conference and we took first in districts and second in sectionals. And then we took 5th in state this year, which was not what we wanted, but it was good. And I think, we took 4th last year, so it was pretty good. It's going to be interesting next year not doing it and watching everybody else bowl since my brother's on the team, but altogether it was a really good experience. We made a lot of friends.
Who's your coach?
Joe Sheets.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
All right, indoor track. So come up, introduce yourselves, tell your event and how you did.
Hi, I'm Annie Rossi. I'm a junior, and I ran the 60-meter hurdles. I ended up placing 8th overall, And I just wanted to say thank you to our coaches because indoor track took us a lot of time and effort to get down to state. And they've been putting in a lot of extra time with us, Coach DeMarcus and Edmondson, and our other coaches also. So I just want to say thank you for that, and looking forward to restarting and working towards the same goals in outdoor. Thank you.
I'm Brandon Cole. I'm a senior. I'm the only senior, and I ran the 60-meter hurdles, which I took 10th out of 18, and then us four, besides Annie, ran the 4x2 and 4x4, and we took 7th in the 4x2 and 5th in the 4x4.
I'm Austin Carlson. I'm a junior. We took 7th in the 4x2 and 5th in the 4x4. So. I'm Justin Carlson. I'm a junior, and we took 5th in the 4x4 and 7th in the 4x2 too.
Hi, I'm Cole Johnson. You already know how we finished. I'm a junior.
Very good, congratulations.
Nice
And Mr. Snook and the speech and debaters, please.
So I'm going to apologize first to Mr. Bergman for not holding my laptop properly while I'm walking. But otherwise, I'm going to forget everything because this was a very momentous weekend. I'm going to explain how everybody did, and then I'm going to let them sort of explain what event they did at state. So overall, we were 27th out of 80 schools, which is really impressive when you think about the fact that we compete against public, really large public schools twice our size, and then private schools who seemingly have endless budgets, including 10 coaches for a team. So the fact that we're taking 27th out of 80 in the state is really impressive. I guess we'll do one at a time. I'll first introduce Maddie. Maddie's not here, but Maddie Holt and Melissa Reinflesh, they did duo. At the state tournament, they were 21st out of 47 teams, but if you look at the entire state, then they were 21st out of 130, and I'll let her explain what duo interpretation is.
So like Mr. Snook said, I have a partner. Her name is Madeline Holt. She couldn't be here tonight. We're both seniors this year at Vermilion High School, obviously, and our event is called an interpretation because we act out a certain skit that we pick and we cut down to 10 minutes. This year we did a spoof on a Willy Wonka skit, and it was originally 2.5 hours, and we cut it down to 10 minutes. That was a lot of hard work, but besides that, we're not allowed to look at each other, we're not allowed to touch each other, but we recreate a scene with different distinct characters to an audience, and we're judged on how our interpretation is, how we carry it out, how we distinctify our characters, and how we act out things, use our bodies to create the scene and create something really special. So it was great. We had a very successful season, and we were just happy that the past 2 years that we've been doing it together, we've had such a great experience at the state level, at our local tournaments, and we couldn't ask for better coaches, so thank you.
Good.
We wouldn't want better coaches.
Next, I'm going to introduce Christy Fennick. Christy Fennick competed in Student Congress. She'll explain what that is. She was 7th place in her preliminary session. Had she been in 6th place, she would have made the semifinals. So we're pretty mad at the two judges that don't seem to know what they're doing and sort of ruined her chances to go to semifinals. So they're both idiots. But when you look at it objectively, Christy would have was in the top 240 in the entire state. She actually placed 105th out of 240. Oh, no. She placed 49th out of 240. So we're really excited about that, especially since it's their first time at the state tournament. Also competing in Student Congress were Kyle Preet and Ian LeBlanc, who couldn't be here. So I'll let Christy explain that.
I'm Christy Fennick. I'm a junior and I do Student Congress. Basically what we do is it's a room of 20 kids, and we debate around 11 current events every week. It's very interesting. It's nice to know everyone's opinions, and we get judged on how well you speak and your ideas that you put into your speech and how you interact with the other people in your chamber. And state was just a lot of fun this year. Like Melissa said, the coaches are great. Like I couldn't ask for better coaches, like she said. They've helped me so much, especially from last year to this year. It's gotten so much better. I've had a lot of fun.
I'll introduce the other people who aren't here. Eileen Costello couldn't be here. She ended up 28th out of 66 at the state. Had she been 24th, she would have been a quarterfinalist, which would have been awesome for her first time at state. That put her in roughly 28th out of 196 throughout the entire state, so that's phenomenal for Eileen. Then I'm going to introduce Morgan Walker. Morgan Walker competed in an event called Prose Poetry. She's our third in the history of Vermilion prose poetry to ever make a final round and get it on stage. She ended up being 6th out of 77 at the state tournament, which is phenomenal, beating 71 of the hardest competitors that she probably ever has faced. And to put that into a grander context, she was 6th out of 238 people in the entire state, which is really awesome. Furthermore, we're really excited because like our speech and debate season continues into June with a national tournament where Morgan will be competing in humorous interpretation. So we're really looking forward to taking her talents down to Dallas, enjoying some barbecue and some obnoxiously hot weather in the middle of June. But we're definitely excited for Morgan to do it. So she's going to explain the event that she did at state, which is a different event that she qualified to nationals in, which is just a testament to how talented she is, that she could qualify and do so well in 2 different events.
Hi, again, I'm Morgan Walker. I'm a senior this year at the high school, and like Snook said, I do an event called Prose Poetry. So basically, I have this little tiny binder in front of me, and it's a compilation of prose and poems that combine to form a certain theme. So my theme was summer camp, and so that's what I competed in. It was a lot of fun, and it was just an amazing experience to be able to compete next to some of the most amazing people in the state. And to do as well as I did. So thank you, Mr. Snook and Missy, for all of their help again, and it was just an amazing experience.
And last up, we have Rebecca Tershak. Rebecca Tershak competed in an event called Expository Speaking. She ended up 3rd place, which is the 2nd highest placing of anyone in school history in terms of speaking events. So we're really excited that Rebecca could do that. Rebecca might be a little embarrassed when I say this. She qualified to state last year and was dead last in state last year. Fast forward 365 days and she's 3rd in the state, which is just a testament to like the hard work and dedication that she put in throughout the entire year. Without a doubt, she probably worked harder than anyone else on the team. And if you talk to her family, they're sick of hearing her introduction to her speech over and over again while they're sitting at Quaker Steak waiting for wings. She ended up 3rd overall out of 65 total people. If you put that into the context of the entire state, she's 3rd out of 195, which is just phenomenal. So, Rebecca Tershak.
Thanks, Snook. I'm Rebecca Tershak, and I'm a senior, and I did expository speaking for the first time this year because my old event was canceled, which I was really upset about, but it turned out to be a really good thing that it was canceled because then I did expository, and I found success in that. An expository speech is basically a 5-minute informational speech about anything, and you get to pick your topic. And I picked the flute because I play the flute, and I'm going to college for the flute, and I love the flute, so it was fitting, and it went well. So I couldn't have done it without the help of Snook and Z. That is 100% positive. So as much as he'll deny that, they help so much. Okay, thank you.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you to all these students that represented Vermilion well. And thank you for coming tonight. All right, on to item number 6, legislative update. Mr. Harding?
Yes, we have a couple things. Here are the standardized testing changes for the House bills that have been introduced to change the standardized testing. House Bill 7, House Bill 74, another one, House Bill 64. All have changed. In particular, they all want to change the time of the month, the time we spend testing students. So all 3 of them are fairly good. I'm not going to go into any detail because our assistant superintendent is going to, Jim Bellata, is going to talk about that here in a little bit. The other thing we still have the budget problem with the school budgets in Columbus. Again, just to reiterate what I said last month, we're going to lose $200,000 from state funding in 2016. jumps to 600,000 in 2017. We are ranked 528 out of 612 schools, being 612 being the wealthiest, number 1 being the poorest. And after doing a little study on free and reduced lunches, we're about 50%. Didn't come into play in our ranking. Median income per million is around 49,000. That played no part in their decision whatsoever either. Stranger than that is some of the other schools that were ranked below us as far as being poorer than we are and getting more money or not being hit as hard, had a much higher income. And one in particular I picked out was Westerville, that was ranked at 483. Couldn't find a free and reduced lunch program there, didn't come up with the numbers, but the median income there was 83,000, and they're going to keep more money than we are. Don't know how they came up with these figures, but we definitely need to continue calling our congressman, our senator, and trying to get a hold of the governor's office. And I think the school board is particularly going to have to, along with other school boards and OPSI and OEA and the other organizations, write a letter to the governor and make sure that he knows we're not happy with the ranking where we're at, based on our median income, based on our free and reduced lunches, and it's really lopsided. I just don't understand the thinking.
They base a lot of the rankings off perceived property value.
It's all on property values,
and
and it can be an empty field along the lake, but because it's on the lake shore, it has value.
So as they tell you, income doesn't play into that formula.
Exactly.
A neighboring community in Lorraine is ranked as one of the poorest. They have probably twice the lakefront property we have.
Exactly.
Yet the household income is way down, so there's no consistency in the formula.
Not at all.
Which
None.
needs to be addressed.
And a lot of these folks have already got the letters made up, and the OSBA's got one, OEA's got one, so we can take a look at those and formulate a letter that we need to send.
Right, that's something I'd like to do. I hope we're all on board with that, just to kind of voice our displeasure at how they're coming up with that, because we are going to feel the hit down the road if this passes.
We're going to feel a pretty good whack.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other comments? All right, item number 7, public participation. Would like to come up and speak? If you do, please state your name and... Nobody? Okay. On to item number 8, reports. We'll start with the superintendent's report.
First on the agenda tonight is the facility update. Mr. Remy is running late because they're doing a fire inspection tonight, and he said that he'll be joining us. So if it's okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on with my report, and then hopefully by the time that we catch up and do some of these other items, he'll be here. And if he's not here by then, we can find a break somewhere in the meeting and get him back though on the agenda so that he can give us an update. I'll start with open enrollment, and I think at your desk you've been given a printout of what we were in 2013-14 and what we are currently in the 14-15 school year. And I'm going to ask if we can maybe run these again tomorrow and take a closer look at them.
Yeah, if these are accurate, we got a problem at the elementary school level. There's no way it can go from 14 to 37 when you're leaving. We're losing 37 kids at the elementary school level. We got to figure out why.
Overall, if you look at the numbers, we're doing better than we did last year as far as in and out, but still, that number at the elementary school, it shows 27 in, 37 out. At the middle school, 26 in, 20 out. At the high school, 58 in, 37 out. When I do my goal review later on, part of the criteria that we set up as a performance review and a performance bonus for principals is to, in the open enrollment, to work on finding out who these students are, where they're going, and retain them. And so I do need to catch up on that aspect of where we are with this, because that is honestly not one of the places that I've had a chance to review with them yet. So that will be a part of my goal review and something that I'll be talking not just with Suzanne, but with them.
Do you or Mr. Bellata have to sign off on the kids that are leaving?
No, we don't.
You don't?
No. He asked if we have to sign off on the students that leave.
No.
So you just get a letter in the mail that says, hey, John Smith is now going to Firelands?
Yes, we're just notified.
So there's not a chance to do an exit interview, figure
Well,
out
I
what?
think there's a chance of doing that, sure.
Okay. I'd really like to do that and figure out why. I mean, that number's, we jumped, almost tripled at the elementary school level in 1 year, went from 14 to 37. Why? We had a brand new school being built. Why do we got kids?
And at the elementary level, that does not include kids that go to St. Mary's here in Vermillion, right?
No, not, I shouldn't say that. Let me check to see how it is calculated. It might, yes.
I think so too.
Yeah, but the
Because
14, did the 14? Anyway about it.
Maybe there's a different way.
Did it change in how they calculated it from 1 year to the other?
As far as the exit interview goes, that is within the criteria of the principal's performance rating. So I do need to talk with them. I'm sorry that I didn't get this information more clear tonight. It's kind of no excuse. It was a busy agenda, but I should have had more information on this tonight because it was on the agenda. And we are asking for the second time now to have you to approve open enrollment through the state. And that's on the number 3 on the agenda, is to continue on with this. This is the first year that we're doing this. And obviously we need to work on finding out why these students have left, finding out how we can retain them, and what we've done or what we can do better. That's all got to be part of this. And I'm expecting that this first year, we're probably not going to be as good as I'd like to see us be, and I would imagine 3 years from now, I'll probably say the same thing, that we still can get better at. But what we want to see is obviously a decrease in out and an increase in in, and by big numbers, because it brings money into the district and brings students into the district, and we want them here.
I mean, you're showing about a 60% increase from last year to this year coming in. That's exciting.
I was going to say, I think this is the first time in a couple of years we've had 4 coming in and leaving.
And the principals have talked to us about it, and I've known that they've come in, but I haven't talked to them enough about why they went out and I know we have a criteria of what they need to do for the kids that are going out, and part of it is giving calls, keeping a log, things like that. But I'd like to share more information about this. I'll put it in the week in review. If we want to put it back on the board agenda next time and talk about it some more in more detail in the public, we can do that. So I wasn't as prepared as I would have liked to be about this particular subject tonight.
Yeah, I think if you get any details behind it, it'd be good to put it back on the agenda.
Okay. We will do that. So what we are asking you to do, though, I think in general, as we discussed before, I think it's a positive thing that we need to, I'm recommending that we continue on with it. And so number 3 on the superintendent's report is to recommend the resolution to have you to continue on with open enrollment.
Let me go through it right now.
If you would, please.
Okay. Recommend a resolution to adopt a resolution to approve open enrollment policy to permit enrollment of students from all other districts in Ohio for the 2015-2016 school year in accordance with state law.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Okay, call roll.
Mr. Dawson?
Yes.
Mr. Habermill?
Yes.
Mrs. Ennis?
Yes.
Mr. Harding?
Yes.
Okay, the next item on the superintendent's report is state mandated testing, and then that's followed by a board resolution. There's been a lot of changes this year in the testing process, and it's best that I ask Jim Bellata to come up and go through some of the changes. He's not going to tell you each and every detail, but he's just going to give you an overview of how drastically things have changed at the state level. Jim, thank you. Jim Bellata is our curriculum director and our assistant superintendent for the district. Thanks, Jim.
Good evening, Mr. Peppin, board members. I have in your packet, you'll see a paper that explains some of the differences and some of the things that we've asked Heidi Riddle to take charge of. It starts with 2014-15 testing, and there's another page after that that I'll explain as well. Before I get into this, I just want to give kudos to Sean Bergman and his staff. We have had no issues with the testing, and it's really heavy duty when you see how many tests we've given so far. But Sean and his staff troubleshooted, and we tried this last year. We did a practice run and found some issues, and he fixed them. But other districts are having nightmares over this testing. So Sean, thank you, and your staff, thank you, and Heidi also. These are some of the things that Heidi has done with the testing, because it's changed. If you remember in the past, we've given OGTs and OAAs. It was like a one-day test in reading, one-day math. Maybe they had science, maybe they had social studies. OGT is all the subject areas, but one day. Well, when you see the list of how many days we're testing, it'll astound you how it's changed. And the problem is things keep changing. There's no like set way of doing things. And we're learning this through reading the Park. If you've heard of Park, I'm sure. The Park website has updates and so forth. So we have to try to keep on top of all these different rules. But some of the things that Heidi's done, she's attended several meetings, and I'm not going to read everything here, but that's a huge undertaking. Keeping on track with the Park updates, making sure that teachers understand what's all involved with the online testing. It's not as easy as just giving out, paper and pencil tests anymore. It's really involved. She worked with Abby Abernathy, our special ed director, to make sure that students had personal profiles. That's like the special areas where the kids had the test read to them, scheduling all that. And at the high school, the counselors used to do a lot of the scheduling of testing. Well, this year, our high school counselors aren't doing any of that. Heidi did all of that scheduling, along with Abby, to make sure that the accommodations were met for the students. Creating keynote presentations. Heidi held meetings with all the staff members that had several videos explaining how to make sure they log on properly and what happens if a child gets pushed off the system for some reason. What should the teacher do about it? So there's a lot of details that had to be put in to the testing that we didn't have to deal with before. There's security training, and teachers have to sign off that they're being very secure with the website. She created a block schedule for the high school. I'm sure if you have high school students, they've probably told you about some of the times they have to sit in the study hall, which isn't good. We didn't want to do that, but we discussed that we'd rather do that than have them sit at home for a couple hours every day, because we did testing in the high school. It was 2 weeks. We're giving tests again this week. We gave it last week. In May, there's going to be 2 more weeks of testing. And then there's the OGT for the 10th grade, which is another additional test. And I'll go through some of that with you. She also worked with Brian and Heidi and those teachers. Heidi was at each school. Heidi, Sean, his crew, and Jen, thank you. Jen Bengal, our tech coach, was at the buildings as well to make sure that it helped the teachers to troubleshoot. So they've done an outstanding job. We had, again, no problems. I know it's because of preparation, planning, teaching the teachers how this all works, and the teachers followed through as well. Now, I'm going to stop there because you could read the rest yourself of the duties that Heidi took care of. But if you look on the next page, there's a double-sided sheet that looks like this. It lists the number of tests. So if you'll see like 3rd grade, for instance, 3rd grade wasn't as bad. They only have to take a math test with Park. They're still taking the OAA in 3rd grade for reading. And then you'll see 4th grade, 5th grade, and so on. And just 4th grade, for instance, 3 days in February of testing, and then they're going to do 1 more day in May with English language arts. And that is an increase from like 3 days an increase. Then you see the math, how it's increased, 4 days. Social studies, they have 2 days. They didn't take a social studies test before in 4th grade. So through all this, there's a number of days taken away for testing. Kids, you know, sitting in the study hall isn't good either. I think they should be in front of teachers learning. Then we still have to give the OGT in March. So it's really, in my opinion, an overabundance of testing, way over than what we need to do. I think we're doing the right thing with NWEA, the MAP testing, because that's more diagnostic, where you're actually using the results to help drive instruction. And we give that 3 times a year. I think if the state went to that model or went to the ACTs for high school, that would be better than all of this testing. I think we're going overboard on it, and they keep changing their minds on how it's all going to end up. I also listed for you the number of opt-outs. That's something that was new this year. We've never had parents say they don't want their kid taking the test. It's never happened before. Well, because of the length and the publicity about the number of tests and so forth that is going on, many of our parents opted out, which will not affect us financially. But it does count on the rating for the principal and for the school as a 0 for those kids that didn't take the test. So those results that we get back for those principals might be skewed a little bit, that the kids didn't really do as poorly. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the results are going to be, but I'm just saying it's possible that it'll knock them down a little bit on their grade and knock our district down a little bit for the value added and for the other grades that we get on the state report card.
Does not affect teachers.
It does not affect the individual teachers, right? But it does the principal and the district.
Just to expand upon that a little bit, Jim, too, every principal called every parent that opted out. So we made personal contact with every parent, let them know, listen to them, talk to them, wanted to know what their thoughts and feelings are about not wanting to take the test. And at the high school level, the way that the state law stands right now, there's student stands not to graduate if the law stays the way it is. So we had to give them that warning to let them know, even though we don't agree with it, we don't like it, but we had to give them fair warning that that could be a possibility for those parents.
So you're saying, so the 11 kids in high school that opted out, you're saying as of right now, they're not going to graduate from June?
Yes. Well, there might not be a senior. It's not this.
Oh,
It
you're
won't
not
affect them.
seniors, not for 11.
Right, it'll be other, once they go, graduate.
So what, I mean, is that possible? Is there a possibility that changes?
Yeah,
Yes.
I really believe that because the parents now have come forward, that the legislators are more likely to listen to parents than they are to educators. And so we're not the only school in this situation. Actually, our numbers, I think, are fairly low compared to a lot of schools. It seemed like the more that you said about this, the more that people jumped on this. And in other districts, the numbers then reflect that. So I really believe that it will change.
So what do the kids do that opt out? They go to study hall for the whole?
They go to study hall, they have a book to read, they don't have really assignments, because it's different than what the other kids are doing, but they do.
And the problem is that we told those parents that we did let them know that that was the issue, because this happened, they told us about this right at the last minute. And the state was just coming up with criteria of what we should do, how we should handle it, what would be the procedures. Luckily, we are a laptop school. They were able to work on assignments. We were better than most schools where you just told them, hey, read a book or sit here. At least they were able to do some assignments in a study hall type situation. They came out of the room and they worked on assignments.
So besides the obvious, hey, there's, testing's way overboard, what were some of the reasons that the kids or the parents gave for opting out?
I think some of it, they're confusing opting out of the tests and the state guidelines and so forth, that everyone's like afraid of Common Core, which I really don't, I'm not against Common Core. I think it's all good. It's the standards that we use. It's not that different, but the testing is connected to it, so that's why they're kind of mixed up with Common Core and the testing, I think.
So I'm trying to see the negative. I mean, so the negative is their kid's going to do poorly in the test and be stereotyped?
I think they just didn't want their kids sitting there for all, just as an objection for having all this testing.
Yeah, I think it's just the way that I understood it, Jim and the board, it's the frequency. It's the amount of the tests that are being given. And as a school district and as the superintendent and as the assistant superintendent and as our teachers talking about this often, we don't like the amount of tests being given. We believe that the school district should be given the authority and the autonomy to give the kind of tests that can let the kids to be creative, that it's not just teaching towards a test, that that's not all we think about, that that's not all we do. And that's the main reason, Mr. Dawson, is just, I think that if you were to survey these people that opted out, 80% of them would say it's the amount of testing, and 20% of them would go to the core and say they don't believe in the core because of, and I don't know how much they really know about the core. They might know a whole lot about it, and they just don't philosophically believe that the core should exist. But really what the core is in common terms is it's just the standards. It's what the state standards used to be, rewritten, made more up to date. That's all the core, Common Core is in simple terms.
A lot of the students' parents that opted out are with disabilities, which I can understand.
Accommodations.
There are accommodations,
But
but
not as-
for
well, they're used to-
sit for,
yeah.
you know, what are we talking about, 8 days? You know, that's crazy. The parents don't want their kids to sit through that, so I can understand.
And I've heard too, the difficulty of the PARCC test, it's not truly measuring what we're looking for too, it's just.
Yeah. It's very, very
It's
difficult.
very difficult, yeah.
Mr. Carden?
There's an open hearing at the State House on all of this going on March 25th. Administrators, superintendents, assistant superintendents, board members can go to the State House to this open forum from 8 to 1. After 1 o'clock, there is going to be time to meet individually with our senators and our representatives from our area and talk with them one-on-one. We have to make that call and set that time frame up with them, but we're able to go to Columbus on that date for this open hearing and voice our concerns. And I'm sure that most of the school districts are going to be there.
Well, that's what we have on the next item on the agenda, is just a resolution that has actually been given to us. Thanks, Mr. Bellata.
Thank you.
I have one last question.
Sure.
What about like a student who was maybe ill during the testing? Do they come back and make it up at some point?
Yes.
So you do get credit
Yes.
at some point for it?
Yes, oh yeah. We have makeup tests. Heidi Riddle also organized that to make sure that kids make up. Yeah, it's very precise.
And the makeup testing, is it done during school hours? Will they miss
Yes.
out on classroom instruction because of it?
It's possibly, we first go at
I've
study hall.
got one in that boat, so I'm just curious.
We first try to pull them out of study hall if they have a study hall. If their schedule is full, then yes, they would have to be pulled out.
Before I go on with the resolution, I too want to thank the entire team, from Mr. Bellata to Mr. Bergman to Mrs. Riddle to the teachers to everyone that's participated in the process. One thing that I think that we could be proud of as a district and as a board is that the fact that we did go through with the technology. It hasn't been easy. There's been some bumps with the technology, and I know that it's been a big undertaking and still continues to be a big undertaking, but we're one of the few districts that I think has done it right, and that's what the state wanted, was that everyone took these tests online and used the laptops as we did. And that's what the state is going to, that everyone needs to take the test the way that we did it. So we were exemplary in the way we did it, and I think it was because of the time and the effort and the preparation that went through by the team. So if you get a chance and you're within the buildings, walk around and stop into rooms that are testing, because it's really interesting to see how well versed the kids are when they're on these laptops, and they know where to click, they know where to go because they've been prepped. And it's not that we're prepping them to take the test, to answer the test, but we're prepping them on how to take the test, because a lot of details with this that have to go into it. And so I think we all need to be proud of that as a district, and we'll keep working with the state on these opt-out numbers and how it's going to affect us. I think that the state will cave, in my opinion, into public opinion, and they're not going to penalize us for any of this. I can just imagine at the end that I think that that's what's going to happen. In the end, though, what I'd like to say before we ask you to pass this resolution is that I brought this up at the last meeting. Philosophically, I think that, and we've talked about this, just throwing this all out the window sometimes and saying, you know what, don't worry about prepping so much for any of this. Just teach to our teachers and bring back what's fun about school. And let the chips fall where they may. And sometimes you'd be surprised. I think it comes out better than getting so uptight about this and getting so wound up about it. The best thing to do is to let kids be kids, let teachers know what they do well, and be creative, be innovative, and they're going to get it. So that's where we stand on it. And we are going to ask you, though, that just like Mr. Harding said, let's be aware of what's going on at the state level. Let's let our legislators know where we stand. And if you would look at the resolution, and if you're willing to sign what's in the resolution, we'd appreciate it. We will recommend that you do that this evening. So that's the next item on the agenda. If you would, please.
Madam President, could I comment? You want me to wait?
If you can keep it brief, sure.
I'll try.
Okay.
I'm not brief.
I know.
I had a personal experience with this testing business. Some of you may remember the achievement tests that they gave, I think, forever in the lower grades. Well, in first grade, on the test day, I would get sick, and Mom didn't know why. And we also went home at noon and then came back for an afternoon session. I'd be fine until lunch and went back. I'd get sick again. I did this up until fourth grade. Then I either grew out of it or something. But the school psychologist came down and talked to my parents. He called it school bus fever. As I look back at it, it was test fever. And I really got sick.
Test anxiety.
In regard to opting out, I had mixed feelings about that. I don't think I could do that with my children, even though I don't like the test, because the kids might think, oh, we could break the rules if Mom and Dad will go to that for us. So I think that they could play that way. And my point of view, and some of you remember if you had me in school, I said, don't break the law, work to change it. And I think that's what you're doing. And I give you a handshake for that. I'm very pleased.
Thank you. All right, so the resolution. Recommend that the board adopt the resolution to end the overuse and misuse of standardized testing and authorize the superintendent to send said resolution to area legislatures, Governor John Kasich, and the Ohio Board of Education. I'll second. Any more discussion? And again, this resolution comes from the BPA, is that?
Yes, this did come from our own Vermillion Teachers Association and the OEA, and it's in the attachment, and I'm sure you've all read through the attachment and see that it's asking for just what we said, to let the legislature take a close look at this and start to really think about the anxiety that this is bringing and causing within our district and within our state.
Mr. Dawson?
Yes.
Mrs. Ennis?
Yes.
Mr. Habermill?
Yes.
Mr. Harmon?
Yes.
Okay, moving on with the agenda, just real quick, I want to let you know, unfortunately it's on the same night as our basketball playoff game. We do have a basketball playoff game. We had an exciting game this Saturday night versus Padua that we came from behind after the second half and did very well and beat Padua to advance to the next round of the tournament. We're playing at 7 p.m. in North Ridgeville against Bay Village. So anyone that can make that, that's fantastic. It does unfortunately conflict with a art show though that we have right here in town, which is at Main Street building in the Vermillion Arts Gallery. And the gallery is no problem though if you can't make it this Thursday. That's going to be the main opening. We've got 30 students that have their artwork displayed, and we've got some fabulous artists in our school district. And they will be displaying that art over at this Arts Guild beginning as a grand opening on March 12th, this Thursday at 7 p.m. So I'll give that to the photojournal and maybe they could put a little shout out to them. And we'll get that out there, and hopefully anyone that can attend that would be fantastic. One thing just along the art side of this too, we're thinking about putting framed artwork above the lockers in the entire school. And what we'd like to do is to have that artwork available along with, and we're looking at a team shop as well as selling some of the art within the team shop and just having that art available to the community. So that's an opportunity for them to come in and have art on display all the time, and we'll be able to slide the art in and out of those frames. So that's a little project we're working on. All right, the next one is my goal review. Every quarter, the board takes a look at what goals were set for myself, and at this time, I'm going to pass out my documentation towards those goals. I'm not going to go over every single detail of this. I'll just hit the highlights tonight. That one's for me. All right, I'm going to start with the first document that I gave you, which was the score of 1 to 5 for each of the 4 categories. And I've got 4 categories that are outlined, starting with academic performance objective, which is 25% of my goals. It's broken up into 3 categories. And as you can see there, it's developing the objective criteria for measuring progress towards the OIP goal. I sent you recently something from the Week in Review from that state group that has, I think in their own words, demonstrated or said how well they think that we're doing. So it's not just me talking at this point, it's another organization besides us looking at how we compare to other districts and how we're doing this process. I think that we're totally invested in it. I do think it's hard work, but I think it's good, valuable work. And it keeps us focused. It helps us to ultimately reach what we're looking for, which is that individualization and personalization of education for our kids. And so I'm not going to read every single aspect of this, but are there any questions on the academic performance aspect of the goals?
The last part of the 5th year graduation rate, do we have any numbers to support that we've made progress?
Yeah, there's a sheet that I attached as an attachment. Sorry, yeah, that was part of that goal there. I didn't give myself one, I don't think. Thanks. Yeah, so this is a review of those students that, and this is confidential, some of this information on here, of course, because you have to get specific with some of the students that we're targeting. So we're looking at what their status is and where they were.
So you've got 5 of them,
as of this point right now.
That's good.
So we're tracking them, and we're making sure to the best of our ability that we're seeing where these students are and how we can find a way for them to graduate no matter where they are.
That's good work.
The next part of my 4-point goal system is staff development objective. And part of this goal means that we need to maintain goals and objectives for all the administrative personnel and report quarterly using the OPES system. And besides that OPES system, we're also using a performance-based criteria. So we do 2 things. And as of now, we're up to date on those OPES evaluations. I did tell you that we are a little bit, not behind, but part of the thing that I need to be looking at a little bit more closely that I felt a little bit underprepared tonight was the open enrollment status of their performance objective, because we need to know how well they are tracking those students, where they were, how they got there, and what we can do to bring them back to the district. Another big part of that goal is what we're doing with professional development. And one of the things that we said that we need to do is, if you're going to offer professional development, do it like we're expecting for the teachers. It needs to be personalized. It needs to be individualized. We have to be the role models ourselves. So our administrative team is working very hard to make sure that we're giving exactly what a teacher needs, and not just a 2 or 3 choice scenario where that becomes a one-size-fits-all or a two-size-fits-all. That's not the way learning is. Everyone's needs are different. So we're working hard through the blended learning programs, Compass Learning, all of these things that are listed to try to make sure that we're individualizing the plans for them and offering those opportunities. Any questions about that goal?
For this, are all teachers doing this, or do you have some that go and then come back and then pass on that information to others?
As before, we do our very best to do a train-the-trainer model. That's been the beauty of having the technology in our district, once again, because there's so much out there that we go for training that our teachers really now are just so used to taking pride in going to a workshop or going to something that they get trained in digitally and then bringing it back and teaching others. So that's worked out real good. Jim?
Further explain that, we're going to have a menu of topics that teachers can choose to what they would like to learn next. And then those teachers that are already proficient in that, whatever topic it is, so they'll be in small groups learning what they need to.
Okay.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, next part of the goal is board community communication objective. As you know, every week I put out a week in review. I try to put as much information in the week in review, and then I also welcome you to call me at any time if you have any questions about what you saw in that week in review. So hopefully that still remains a good way to communicate to you all. Also, if something comes up, I try to call if it's something special and above and beyond what's in the week in review. The monthly board meeting agenda is distributed to all board members. We still need to improve on this process. That just seems to be, no matter who's the board president, and as hard as we try, when Dale was here and now Shelley, this Friday we did not get you the board agenda on time. I want to back that process up a little bit and shoot for earlier goals so that we get it all in your hands, because the sooner you get that board agenda, the better. So room for improvement with that one for sure. School zone article that we put into the photo journal, we put that in every 2 weeks, and we try to make that sometimes light, sometimes, depending on whatever the subject is, kind of heavy and controversial, or whatever you want to call it. So I look for topics that are all across the board with that one. And I think I've heard a lot of positive comments from the community that they like to see our opinions about not just the basics that we do, but so that's been good. What I'm really hoping that's, not hoping, what I believe will improve a lot is now that we've got this broadcast journalist set up, that we're really going to improve in this board community communication objective. Also, the meetings, I go to Rotary, I go to some of the, as many things as I can be around the district and the community. Any questions on those? All right, and the fourth one is an innovation growth objective, looking for alternative revenue sources. Need to improve a lot here yet. I think that this is my biggest work in progress this year because I'm just gearing up in my mind and thinking about how we are going to find revenue source. And I've got a lot of good ideas, but it's a matter of, okay, you can have all the ideas you want, but you got to make sure that you have an action plan and put them into place. And so I've got to hone those down, and you can read through some of the things that we're looking at there. I want to get better at this. We're looking at naming rights, we're looking at the improving the utilization of our facilities, we're looking at decreasing costs. So this all goes into it, and I won't once again read it all because I put it into this document, and you can read for yourself how I think I'm doing. A lot of room for improvement in that one as well.
Any headway on the advertising front of the
I wanted to wait until we decided what to do with the leasing of the equipment, and I'm going to the athletic boosters meeting tomorrow with Mr. Stillman, and we've got some terms of the possibility of a lease, and him and I were just meeting today talking about how we're going to get out there and do the naming rights, because what I think it comes down to is that we had home team marketing that called us again today, which was another company that was different from Side Effects that came in and did a presentation. And I got to be honest with you, the more that I'm thinking about it, the more it hurts me to give away 50% of what we're doing. I know that that's 50% more of what we're getting, but home team marketing is a 70-30 split.
Didn't you guys approve that last month? Am I here? Did we sign on it?
Yeah, we just approved the possibility of moving forward with them, but not necessarily
enter into any agreements.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't signed anything at this point. So one of the reasons why, though, is I wanted to see what our first step was going to be with the field house and the weights. I want to get that behind us and establish what exactly the boosters are going to do or can't do for us. And we're going to find out, I believe, by tomorrow. We're going to talk with them some more, and I think that we're going to work on a timeline of yes, they will or yes, they won't. And if they won't, then Andy and I and Heidi would like to seek going out for naming rights first without getting a company. And the company, though, was doing a 90-10 split. But the problem with the 90-10 split was, and that's why you got to sometimes look at the legalities of this, if you're going to go to a private company like Pat O'Brien, or you're going to go to Liberty Ford, that's a tax ramification for them because Side Effects is a private business, and they can't enter into that agreement then and can't get the full tax benefit of the write-off for that.
So do if they did it with us direct.
Which they can get, they can, right. So that's why I didn't want to jump too fast into something that might pigeonhole us into something that we don't want to be involved with.
My take on that is, what have we gotten with the
Nothing
enticement
so
of
far,
nothing?
you're right.
This falls in that list we've been talking about now for 8
Right.
months, and
Right.
we've gone nowhere with it.
Yeah, and I agree. We haven't moved, and for that, you know, I don't feel good about that, but it's not because of a lack of effort or we're not thinking about it or we're not trying to put things in place. All I'm asking for is just a little bit more patience until a couple things fall into place, and then let's make a decision about what to do. Home Team Marketing wants to come back out here and do another presentation because their company was not set up to do what Side Effects was. They are now. And then that's 20% we could gain maybe from that company that will do as good or better than them. And they're a local company they're right in Cleveland, whereas he's way down in Dayton. So I'm thinking, once again, of what all the details are here and how we can do this better. So just a lot of pieces and parts to this, and if you just allow me a little bit more patience, hopefully we'll, not hopefully, I believe we'll put this together and do it right. Do it once, do it right. Okay, any questions on that aspect? I gave you another sheet here that I put together for you that I brainstormed a lot of the things, and this is not all of it. I can tell you that the list that I put together that had priorities for the 2015-16 school year and the 2016 and 17 and beyond. This is a list that's constantly in flux for me, and I'm always adding things to, and I can keep updating you on what I'm doing with these because, for example, a discus pit was just added on here that would be considered a little project that has to be done, that finishes up part of our campus idea, and that's just one thing that comes up quick, comes up fast, but needs to be part of the list. So I wrote comments next to everything that's going on with this list, and it's not real detailed, and all I'm going to say about it tonight is that if you want more details, call me. I can explain anything that's on this list in detail. Some of them are big ideas, and some of them are not, are more the nuts and bolts. And I think the big ideas, though, are the ones that we do want to pursue, because I do tell you that I think that our board and our community and our district is doing things that are not comparable to what's going on around us. And once again, once we have this broadcast media journalist system up and running, we need to tell our story, because I think we've got a big story to tell in comparison. And I'm not trying to just say, well, we're bigger or better than anybody else, but I think that we should be proud of what we do, and I think we need to tell about what we do. If we don't tell it, people don't know. So I think that that's part of it. So once again, question me on any of these if you want to call me up or if you want to send me an email. But that pretty much goes through my review. Any questions? All right, I see that Mr. Rini was expected to be here by 8. He probably will be popping in here any minute. So if we don't mind to move on, and then we can bring him back in and do the facility update.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the treasurer's report.
How do you want me to do this? Read it all into a motion?
Just go through it, what order that we have.
Okay.
That's what you're talking about. And I can read the resolution. I can read the resolution.
Okay. First of all, I have the January and February financial report for review. So we've got January, and this is just the general fund and the emergency levy fund. So we're comparing receipts and expenditures to the 5-year forecast. So I've highlighted the total revenue and total expenditure for year to date. If everything were perfect, we would be 58.3% through the year. So our revenues are at 57%, and our expenditures are 64%. One of the things with the revenue, it's not perfect. It's not perfect every month. Our real estate taxes we get twice a year. Foundation we get twice a month. One of the concerning items that I have is the personal property tax. We received $1.4 million last year. I kept that constant, and that is the first area the state, takes away from us. They've talked about phasing it out over a longer period than a shorter period. So that's an area that before we do the forecast in May that needs to be pinned down. I know it's in part of the new budget bill too. I don't know if it's that's the area that maybe people don't pick up on opposed to our state foundation numbers. The other area of concern, the debt, if they're under expenditures, the House Bill 264, we're at 209%. And the reason that is so high is there was a coding error last year that had to be corrected. So the House Bill 264 is the energy conservation programs that we've done, 3 of them over the past several years, and that has to come out of the general fund, and it was charged to the debt service fund. So that's a correction of a prior year.
So we're not out any money, just move things from one category to another.
Correct. Any more questions on this? I'll go on to February's more up to date.
Can we do at some point a study back in the House Bill stuff and go back the last 5 years and see if it's made any difference on the lighting and the windows and all that?
Well,
We put a lot of money into that. And
one of them was South Street, excuse me.
Yeah, South Street.
Scott.
You're talking about though the House bill money that we put in back
We did the
before.
windows, we've done
Yeah.
the lights, we did automatic light sensors. Is there any way to see if that can make any bit of difference? I mean, utility savings are supposed to be paying for that. I know my own gut feeling on it, but is there any way to really show that is it saving us money? Utilities, or there's so many variables that you'll never be able to tell? That's.
I know that, like for this recent grouping now, this new grouping that we did, and I don't know what they did prior to me coming into the district, because that House bill was passed before I came in, and the windows and the light sensors were all in before I came in. I'm not making excuses because I wasn't here that I don't know what the savings of that was, but Palmer Construction came in and they did a study this last time, and Tim, when he comes up, maybe can talk a little bit more about the details of it, because he might know the inner workings of exactly how the study worked. But I think that the way that they have to report it and demonstrate the savings now is not like it used to be. It's more measurable, I think, now, and more accountable. And Tim can tell you exactly how they have to calculate, because back in the day when that was done, that was it, they sold a lot of things, I know, and I don't know how accurate it
Yeah,
was.
I mean, Sid and I really questioned that 4 or 5 years ago with Garrett. As we were doing it, hey, we want to make sure every year
Right.
the math's being done to really show us that it did save money.
Right. And I know Tim can talk a little bit more about that when he comes up, about that Palmer study. Because I think that because exactly of what you said, there was questions about it, whether it was legitimate, and now there's accountability standards that has to legitimize it.
Happy to move on to February. So, again, if everything were perfect, at the end of February, we would be 77% through the year. So our revenue is right on at 77%, and our expenditures are at 72% in total. One thing that I am concerned about is the real estate taxes. We're going to get a final settlement probably in March here soon, and that's the majority of our income. So we've got to make that last through June.
Is there anything going on with the old Ford plant as far as people looking at the property values there?
We have an attorney that reviews complaints, they try to have their property values reduced. Is that what you mean?
No, there's, I mean, new businesses where it was a vacant property, there are businesses there now.
So we kind of agreed to a low value 5 years ago, something like that now. And I think it was based on estimates. There's some of the businesses in there now, you've got a hard dollar value going on the square footage. I'd be curious.
Yeah, I need more information to
And
answer that,
Suzanne, I know
because I'm
a
not
little
sure.
bit, I know that it's IRG is the company that's in their investment realty group, and I know the overview history of it. I'll talk more with you about it. And we've had recently, though, they split that up and they put several businesses in there, and I think that, are those values now due to be adjusted? That's the question. Maybe they're worth more than what they were originally appraised at, because now they're up and running, they're generating more money than they were before. So that's the question, can we
Okay.
now see whether or not we can get more tax value from them?
I'll have to investigate. The next item is recommend a resolution to approve amended appropriations, and I have that for you there tonight too. The appropriations that were done in July were based on last year, so I've updated those. The next item, number 3, recommend the resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor. So that's, oh, I'm ready.
We're gonna do them one at a time.
It's on the, do you want to say?
What, these two?
1, 2, and 3 is under 1 third. Unless you want to separate it.
I don't think so.
You want to do each one separate?
Mhm.
Okay. So number 1, the financial, well, review you don't vote on, right?
Right, just
Number
a
2,
resolution to approve.
the appropriations.
Yeah, I'll move.
A second.
Mr. Dawson?
Yes.
Mr. Habermill?
Yes.
Mrs. Ennis?
Yes.
And Mr. Harding?
Yes.
So number 3, recommend the resolution accepting amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor.
Second?
That's attached. This is a formality. The county auditor sends these to us. Anytime a levy passes or there's a change to rates, it looks like it's consistent with the previous rates. I don't see any difference, major differences there.
Any discussion?
Mr. Dawson?
Yes.
Mrs. Ennis?
Yes.
Mr. Habermill?
Yes.
Mr. Harding?
Yes.
And I guess we have another number 3. Recommend a resolution to accept a donation of $100 from Birmingham United Methodist Church to be used to support the lunch program for needy students.
I'll move.
Okay. Second? Only comment is, it's great that we have organizations that are willing to help us out. It's great.
Mr. Habermill?
Yes.
Mrs. Ennis?
Yes.
Mr. Dawson?
Yes.
Mr. Harding?
Yes.
Review of the treasurer's goals. I gave you a printout here tonight. I guess I'll go through it kind of like Phil did by category. So the first item, financial management. We are working on to correct the management comments and verbal comments from the last audit, which are not public yet, have not been released, but we're already addressing those. I've met with the secretaries and we're working on a plan. We have opened the new bank accounts at First Merit and consolidated some investments. And we have collected credit cards and I'm putting controls in place. We're looking at other alternatives such as Amazon accounts and adding new vendors. So people definitely are getting their expenditures approved prior to spending funds. And D, I had ODE do the staffing analysis that I reviewed at the work session last month. Any questions or comments? Number 2, use of technology to be more efficient and effective. The main focus right now is training to go on the new software, the K-12 software for budgetary, payroll, inventory, and human resources. So we've had Trekka here on several occasions, and we're starting the planning and the training for that. Continue to have staff trained on, especially right now, the Affordable Care Act. There are a lot of requirements on providing health insurance benefits for employees working more than 30 hours a week. There's a lot of IRS reporting requirements too. We are continuing to work on cross-training staff. Cindy will be the backup for payroll, and Monica will be the backup for accounts payable. So we have 2 people trained in each area. Scanning records, we've sent several records out to be scanned, and the next step for that would be to dispose of records that aren't required to be kept any longer. So a records commission meeting will need to take place to approve that. Using technology with financial reports, continuing to work on that. Board, community district communication. I've met with James Williamson and Phil Brickner and reviewed their funds. In particular, the cafeteria operations and transportation are part of the general fund, so those are big areas to monitor. And I did give you a spreadsheet in your weekend review on athletics, so we'll continue that discussion at our next work session. Met with secretaries twice to go over procedures in the treasurer's office. Continuing to submit the weekly report. I'm having Cindy attach those to Phil, so you get those together on a timely basis. And the next few items, the financial reports, the presentation on school finance, and periodic articles, I'm continuing to work on those. And facilitate the health insurance committee meetings with staff. I've talked to the union leadership and have talked to them about setting up a meeting. And I've contacted Finley Davies, which is our consultant for Health Insurance Consortium, and they are available to meet with any groups that are needed. And the last area, innovation growth objective, the levy request. We discussed that some at the work session. We will continue to work on that. And then just some of the things, just off the top of my head, that we've done to decrease cost. We worked on the cell phone issue.
Just can I stop you real quick?
Sure.
Just because we're the only ones looking at these papers.
Mm-hmm.
When you said levy request, the objective, just for everyone's
Right.
benefit, is to delay a levy request, not to have a levy request.
Sorry about that, I should have clarified. Decreasing costs through bank charges, the courier for banking, reviewing staffing with the superintendent and assistant superintendent, and eliminating some of our software packages by going to the K-12 software. And then the last section, professional development. I will continue to attend meetings. I've completed my investment training for last year, calendar year, and will attend the OASPA workshop and public records training.
Thank you. You were looking for topics for your article, I see it here. You know, something I don't think we do enough is pat ourselves on the back. I think we have done an outstanding job on finances. And look at what we've accomplished in this district in the last however many years. We have not gotten new money, and last time we had new money.
It's since I've been in the district, it's been 7 years,
So
8 years at least.
we've got a technology, we're building new buildings, and this is all maintaining, staying within our budget. We've not asked for new money, and our plan is to not ask for new money for another, for 2018, and better yet, 2020. So, I mean, you guys are doing an outstanding job of managing the money we've got, and kudos to you guys, and you would ever write an article so people understand that, when they see things, you guys are, you're blowing money on new building, our budget, you guys are doing an outstanding job on managing the money that we've got.
One other thing maybe can be mentioned mention that, okay, Mr. Habermill mentioned about the postponement of a levy request. And I had that in my goals too, that obviously, just like Mr. Dawson said, my goal is to work with Suzanne to keep that away until 2021 at least, if we can do it.
I like that goal.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't think that we can do it, though. I think that it can be done if we're smart with the money. But the one thing that we do have to do next year, and we'll be talking about it about this time, maybe actually sooner, so we better start talking about it actually sooner, is a renewal levy. We got to put a renewal levy up, because by law, we have to continue to do that. We're required by law to put that renewal levy up. That's not new money. It's just a renewal of the taxes that people will continue to pay. So we will be on the ballot coming up here soon, not
2016.
Yeah, pretty
Calendar year
soon. So
2016.
just kind of a FYI for the community about that. I think it's not too early to start talking about that and making the community aware of it. Sorry to interrupt you, Ruth.
No, that's fine.
That's it. Okay, thank you. So just starting this year.
Yeah, if you don't mind to go back into the superintendent's report, and that was item number 1 on the report. Mr. Rini, if you wouldn't mind coming up, and maybe before you even start your report, could you address that Palmer company that did come in and do that study and how that worked?
Sure. Palmer looked at all of the schools before we did the big project as part of the $20 million project we were on. We looked at ways for energy savings and ways that we could save money in the district by updating lighting, obviously updating the HVAC, the heating, plumbing fixtures were updated. There was a lot of things. And I heard you talking about it before. There's ways, just like Mr. Bettman said, that they actually calculate out what the savings are going to be. I mean, it's not, it's a true savings. I mean, you're taking out, you know, just like we do at home. If you take out a 100-watt light bulb and you put in a new energy saving, you know, 13-watt light bulb, I mean, there's a savings. And when you do that with, you know, hundreds of light bulbs throughout the district, I mean, there's no question that you're gonna save.
I would just like one day to see an electric bill come in, like, look, since you did House Bill 264, your bill dropped from $100 to $75.
Well, I think what you can look at is look at your electric bill usage. I mean, maybe not the dollars and cents
The rates go up,
as much at, okay, right, because, but see how many kilowatts you're using. Look a year ago, look 2 years ago, look, you know, 3-4 years ago, and you should see, I would think, a pretty substantial savings. Probably windows and doors are a tougher thing to visually see, you know, but I mean, it's kind of a common sense thing. Before when we came in here, I mean, the air used to blow through the windows and now it doesn't, so I mean, common sense would tell us that we're saving money with energy that way.
I don't know why I'm thinking, though, that beyond what you're saying, that's where Suzanne, you and I can go back and pull up the Palmer contracts. I thought that there was some specific language that like actually makes that report accountable and has to validate the savings to be lawful now or something.
I think it's not Palmer's that you're remembering. It was the one we did before that. Brewer Garrett, maybe? I don't remember.
But that's the one I think that Mr. Dawson is questioning, that I don't think, I'm kind of suspicious, not a Brewer Garrett, but just, did we really get the savings? I don't know why, but I'm thinking that Palmer and the way things are done now and how that reporting is very specific, that it has to show very specific numbers.
Palmer came through and looked at both the high school and the middle school, and they're not quite done yet, and did an evaluation and a summary of all the savings. I don't know if they're going to give you dollars and cents, but they're going to tell you, yes, the lights were changed, yes, the windows were replaced. I
So
mean,
they have to come back after the fact now, because they
Right,
did
they are
the
coming
study
back.
already. And that's what I'm thinking maybe is that
They-
now that this, all the equipment has been installed, they've actually got to demonstrate that savings.
They commission the buildings is what it's called, is they come in and they make sure that when you put in a thermostat that's supposed to set back at night, that it's working, and that the units are functioning the way they're supposed to.
Whereas with Brewer Garrett, I don't think that there were any of those safeguards in place. That's what I think that this Palmer company is doing. And we'll have, let me see if I can pull up the records and see what we can show you, and I'll send it out and we can
I think
review.
at Brewer Garrett, I think we can see the new windows, I can see the light sensors that they put in the walk-in classrooms. But like I said, ideally, I'd like to see a drop in the electric bill, give it to me and see a drop. But like I said, there's so many variables, we're just not gonna see that. It'd be nice to justify the $1 million in house bill money by saying, here, look, here's our actual bill decreased, but we're not gonna see that.
Well, there's also a time frame that those savings are over. We're not gonna have it immediately, we'll have it in a number of years,
Right.
so.
Okay. So I'm here tonight to update you on the progress of the projects, and I can tell you, I was running late because we had two walkthroughs with the fire department today, one at 10 o'clock for the day shift and one at 7 o'clock this evening with the night shift, and it went well. When you drive away, you might see the flashing lights and the aerial trucks above the new school, but don't worry, there's nothing wrong, they're just making sure everything works okay. So that went well. In addition to that, I'll go over my latest email that I sent you. The general contractor is continuing the completion of the punch list items, and all the technology, electrical, and general conditions items are being completed with the goal of having everything completed by March 20th. All the furniture is in the building. They have a punch list as well, and their date is also the 20th to complete. I sent out an email to each of them on Friday and asked them to give me a list of items if there are any that will not be completed. So I haven't seen anything back, but I expect a very short list, if any. Demonstrations and commissioning of the equipment as and will continue to take place. The staff is coming in for the various demonstrations, and everything, all that should as well be done by the 20th. On the 28th of this month is the first student activity, I believe, over at the school, and, or excuse me, on the 26th, and the day after that, on the 27th, the building flush out of the HVAC system is going to be started, and that'll be complete on April 24th. That just brings in a lot of outside air into the building and flushes out all the things that people maybe get at the new smell, but they may not be such good things, you know, the glues and the carpets and the things like that. So that'll all be done, and then there's another activity on the 25th, but there should be very, very limited, in fact, no scheduled activity from March 27th to April 24th. The high school and middle school, those punch lists are winding down. We're on a very short list of items that remain. We had a meeting last week, and we sat down and talked about each of those meetings, and we're in the process of paring down the final pay applications for each of the jobs. And we're reviewing that with Lesko's office, our office, and the district's attorney, just to make sure all the dollars and cents are done right as we finish. The field house, I don't know if you saw that today, but the structural steel erection started. They've got a good piece of that work done. Utility work resumed today with the water line being installed. A lot of spoils were hauled off site last week Utility work is a little bit behind schedule, but it's really not on the critical path, so we're still on schedule to move into the weight room at the end of this school year, and then around the 4th of July to move into the balance of the field house. So that was everything I had to report for you today.
New school will come together, looks really nice.
Yeah. Yep.
That's really,
Don't forget, we have, the contractor has the site work to do yet. Once the snow melts, the grass will be planted, the asphalt will go in, and that'll wrap that.
I still get questions on the curve. I saw we put some boulders out there. Well, a couple boulders and they eventually go down to pretty small rocks.
Those, we have a work order into Burke Excavating to bring 30 big rocks in. Those were found when they were digging the utilities over there, and they were gonna haul them off-site, and I said, hey, instead of hauling those off-site, just put them over there and we'll use them. So they're just kind of stockpiled there.
So our end, where the solution in the curve was boulders, then further out towards the road, we have the posts with rope.
Right.
So you got the post with the rope, boulders, and then a fence.
Right.
And is it still to have the roping the entire length of Sailor Way, or just in that area?
We'd like to, if the board thinks, we can maybe do a little sketch or a rendering to show you what that looks like.
I like that.
But I think it
Shoulder
should look pretty good. Yeah, we could stop people from parking on those shoulders.
We've got a lot of new parking, so I think getting them off that road, the street parking would be a good idea.
It's not safe when kids are on the back and forth. Those new parking lots there, the baseball games.
Right.
The only thing that costs us is the roping, because we get those poles for free, so we just,
The installation.
we do the labor and the installation, and it's a very inexpensive item that would beautify the campus.
Tim, with regard to the final pay apps, do we require that the punch lists are complete before we release those?
There's retainage. There's retainage that's so before they get the final pay app. Yes, the punch list will be done. We could pay down on punch lists. In other words, if they're 50% done, or we could put a value on specific items. If they have everything done and the floors aren't clean, and it costs $2,000 to clean the floors, we typically hold 1.5 times what we think it costs. We hold $3,000, but they won't have any money until they're due. There's still quite a bit.
Gotcha.
Ways to go.
So do we have a plan on the damages for not getting done?
Yes, I have a spreadsheet that we met with last week, and we met about it ourselves in a meeting, us and the architect and Phil, James, and our team. We're going to send that to the attorney to look at and get his input before, and there's still.
So you just withhold that from the.
Yeah, so there's still plenty of money to even cover beyond that. But we want to make sure there's all that money plus some before we make a payment even beyond that, so we don't slip up and say, hey, we shouldn't have paid for it.
Yeah.
We won't, I mean.
We'll never get it back.
Right.
Jill, you mentioned that how nice the school looks. I called Tim this afternoon and asked if I could get a quick walkthrough, because I hadn't seen it since we received furniture and that kind of stuff, and we went over and took a walk through the building and blown away. I mean, I think it's just phenomenal. It's beautiful. We talked a little bit about technology tonight. I don't think you could ask for a better situation technology-wise for elementary school children, just with all the new monitors and the computer. I mean, just the opportunities are endless. It's very impressive.
Monitors and the smart boards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Impressive. I want to close one of those walls and yell and see how. You guys try
There's
to do
one
it.
in the north wing, the kindergarten room, there's a kindergarten, 2 rooms that have the wall set up, and it's.
Testing the sound?
Oh, yeah, you can't.
Really?
Those are sound wall. I mean, they're
We looked at that today.
they're
The walls seem really sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, they.
I mean, they're as good as a block wall. They really are.
Exciting.
Yeah, it'll be, I think, when we do have the opportunity to invite the public to come see it, we really need to get the word out because I think people will be impressed.
That's April 25th.
Can you,
Same day as the Gardeners Fair.
can you send out invitations to the 37 people that open and rolled out of the district elementary school? Make phone calls directly to them?
Yeah, we'll have enrollment forms for them as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Check this side, I'll say the way. I was out walking, the snow melted, there was like a patch where we dug through it. It was backfilled with dirt, and now the snow melted, so it's all soft.
Where at, Tim?
Right by the drive, the Sailor Way. Almost like when you
Oh,
come down.
to Sailor Way School.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a piece of sidewalk that's closed that the water and sewer came through.
Yeah.
It's still too frozen, I needed to,
Last night it was real soft, it was, well, I was
it
worried
should,
about
that
kids
the
going.
sidewalk should be closed, and
Okay.
there was snow piles, we're only using the north sidewalk, and that,
Okay.
really what needs to be done is a better effort to close that sidewalk until the dirt can be compacted and the sidewalk needs to be repoured.
Okay.
I know by the trailer.
Yeah.
I know right, yeah. That's gotta be closed off, yeah.
All right, moving on to item number 9, discussion items.
All right, I'll keep this real brief and it's probably turn in maybe to a real quick dialogue on it. And then if you all want to talk about it real quick, we can too, but I'll try to keep it real brief. We put on here a security review, and I just want to let people know that one of the things that the board has talked about was the ALICE training way back probably almost a year and a half ago that we first started talking about it, and it's a work in progress. But what I want to let you all know and let the community know is that despite the fact that all buildings are not totally trained in ALICE, we do have a plan, and it's a very in-depth plan that has emergency procedures hanging on the door of every building that looks like this. It's got their roster, it's got where they need to go, it's got the checklist for the students, it's got the whole manual here of anything that's needed. So despite the fact that not everyone's trained in ALICE, the high school now is, and they will be finishing the student aspect of this, and we're trying to do the student aspect of this in a more low-key way, because I can tell you for the staff it becomes pretty intense. The training was at the high school level, and there were scenarios that were followed and walkthroughs, and it made the teachers nervous because if you think about what's involved with an emergency situation like this, it's not fun, and it gets them thinking about how horrible and how horrific that would be. So the other 2 buildings will be trained in this, and what we've decided to do, because you have to think about timing of it, and that will be done at the beginning of next school year, because we've got a brand new building that we're entering into, and it doesn't make sense that we're going to start training in the old building and then you have to shift procedures. We've also decided if you're going to do something as far as training goes with the middle school, train at the beginning and then train the kids at the beginning of next school year too. So what I want to be sure you all know is that we do have security procedures in place, minus ALICE at the other 2 buildings. They do practice lockdown drills 5 times out of the year that have to be documented by the state. So there is procedures, policies, and practices that are in place to do those lockdowns. And I don't want to go into all the details of what we do because you don't want to compromise security, but that's the plan. And that there is a plan in place, and there are things going on that are constantly being looked at. The cameras and the location of our cameras and how I'm working with Mr. Bergman and his department and with the operations department of moving things and putting things in the right place at the high school and at the middle school. That's constantly going on because we have to make it a priority. Any questions or anything that anyone wants to discuss further about security? Okay, the next one will turn into a sort of a dialogue too with the CVEP application. That CVEP stands for Student Exchange Visitors Program. The board okayed this last year. This license runs all the way through this year and next year, so we don't need to worry about renewal of it at this point. We still are working with Dr. Lin, and what his program now is termed or called is the Vermillion Institute of Technology, and he will be starting a college program up beginning in May that is for college-age students that does a one-year program, but that's another topic. Through that Vermillion Institute of Technology, they would be offering 10 students that we're looking at recruiting from China that would come through this CVAP application. This is a renewal talk of what we discussed when we first were looking at this application process. And what Mr. Bellata and I and Mr. Lamb are doing is making sure that all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. And we won't go through with the recruitment of one single student until we're sure that the Vermillion Institute of Technology has housing that could be offered, that the housing would be proper, that it would be ready for the students, because we're putting our name on this program and putting ourself out there. It is an opportunity for us because it's an income generating opportunity. We're getting full tuition, we're getting full, in a sense, not just the tuition, we're getting, we're charging off all the expenses, because we don't want the community to be involved with the payment of one dime for a foreign student to have to come from overseas. So this is a totally self-supporting program by our district that we would do with these 10 students. So we're once again going through the process. We're hoping that we're setting this up at the beginning of next school year, but we're not sure yet whether or not it's going to work. If not, we still have another year to go with this. Eventually, we'll get this going, and it might not just be with Chinese students. It might be German students from Germany. It might be from France. I'd like to continue on with this because the investment's not that large, and it's an opportunity for us to mix culture, not just with China, but it could be with Italy, or it could be with other places. The way we're set up with blended learning and what we're doing here with our technology program, I think lends to doing this in our district. It's a source of revenue for us also. I think that going back to my goals and how we can think about revenue source, revenue.
This model is already out there. There's people doing
They are out there doing it. We're not the only ones. And we looked at them, we visited them, we continue to do research from them. So I just wanted to give you an up-to-date on that, and if there's any discussion or questions that need to take place.
So is he gonna house this out of this South Street building? What's his plan?
Not the CVAP program, no. He would get sponsoring families that would be willing to do this at for a fee. The families would get they would get money for housing those students throughout the school year. And they would come to him though after school for tutoring, for part of the process. But then they would go to the house at night and over the weekends and stay with the families.
So is there anything going on at the South Street building right now?
He's preparing that for this May opening of the electronic college. It's only a certificated program. He has to keep that open for 2 years before he can offer an associate's degree. So his plan is to operate that for 2 years. And he's planning on getting that started up here in May.
We've heard this for a long time now. We put that option in that contract, we sold the property, that we don't want another abandoned building in town, and that's what we've got. So, I mean, it's changed from, I can't tell you how many businesses have been going in that building already in 2 years. So at some point, we gotta send notice that, hey, we better start seeing something get done over there. Because there was other people that were interested in buying that building.
Yeah, he knows the expectation. I've told him that. I says, we're past the deadline of when you were supposed to have this done. I said, you really have to make sure that you're making this go, because the board is looking at this and wanting to make sure that we told the community that there's an expectation. And so he understands, he's just coming back now from Canada, and he's getting ready, I've been told in May, so we will see. The last item, this discussion item, we really talked tonight a little bit about this already, so I don't know how much more we really can say about the fact that, the budget is open, and there's lots of letters that I have. I can send them to you through the weekend review. I've got letters from Senator Gardner. I've got letters from Mr. Ramos, from the state representative that has sent letters out on behalf of the state legislators saying that they are aware of what's going on with the budget. They know that it can impact us, and they're going to be working on behalf of not just our district, but everybody to make sure that they can do their best to make sure that it's fair. So Mr. Harding brought it up in his report tonight. We need to be active. We need to keep taking these letters and doing what we did tonight with the testing aspect of it. I don't know if there's any need to discuss anything more. Does anyone have anything? Let's go to close. Sounds good. So that's all that I have to say about the discussion items.
Anybody else have any other discussion items you want to bring up? All right, item number 10 is the consent agenda. Superintendent and treasurer recommend that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda items. Action by the Board of Education and adoption of the consent agenda means that all items are adopted by one single motion unless a member of the board, the treasurer, or the superintendent requests that any such item be removed from the consent agenda and voted upon separately. A, review March 10th, 2014 board meeting minutes. B, approve minutes of meetings as follows: February 9th, 2015 and February 21st, 2015. Approve the following fundraisers for policy number 5830. Sailorway PTO Snacking USA sale, March 23rd to April 6th, 2015. Prom to Dawn fundraising letter to city business for donations or gift baskets. Prom to Dawn Marco's Pizza donation night, February 26th and March 26th. National Honor Society Strides of March 5K run. VHS yearbook dance photo sale, March 16th through April 16th, 2015. And another one that's not listed, I was just handed before the meeting, GSA Club bake sale at Liberty Ford, Verlaine, Saturday the 14th of March 2015. D, approve agreement for educational services between the Lorain County Board of Developmental Disabilities and Verlaine Local School District for the 2015-2016 school year. E, appoint the firm of Ennis Britton Company, LPA, as legal counsel. F, approve resolution to participate in Ohio Schools Council Cooperative for advertising and receiving bids for waste and recycling services. Whereas the Verlaine Board of Education wishes to advertise and receive bids for waste and recycling services through the Ohio Schools Council's Waste and Recycling Program, and therefore be it resolved that the Verlaine Local School District Board of Education wishes to participate and authorizes the Ohio Schools Council to advertise and receive bids on behalf of said board as per the specifications submitted for the cooperative purchase of waste and recycling services for the period July 1st, 2015 through June 30th, 2018. It is understood that there is no fee to participate in the Ohio Schools Council 2015 to 2018 Waste and Recycling Program. G, approve updated policies and guidelines listed below as provided. Policies 1530, 2210, 2430, 2430.02, 2510, 2520, 5330, 5336, 7530.01, 7540.03, 7540.04, 8330, and 8400. And H, approve the following employment action as listed.
I'll move. Second. A question on the policies. What do we do with the transportation? We don't know what we're talking about transportation for the kids.
We have to leave it as is that correct?
Yeah, reverted back to what we had.
Where you cannot transport.
That's correct.
staff know that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Lamb and that, we told them that.
All right, I have one that needs to be removed. It's under the employment action. It's, the 1-year limited supplemental contract to Melissa Hoffman. Needs to be removed. Right?
Yes,
Okay.
that's a classified staff. And we're talking about a wage and hour issue here, so we'll have to resolve that.
Ready? Mr. Habermill?
Yes.
Mr. Dawson?
Yes.
Mrs. Ennis?
Yes.
Mr. Harden?
Yes.
So as far as the removal, we're good too.
We're gonna table that.
Table it, yeah.
I did put them on the
Put
next
it.
revisit.
Okay. All right, moving on, number 12, public participation. Yes, Mr. Creed.
My name's Rob Creed. Somebody had noticed about 3 weeks ago. I've been up at the school working on stage stuff for the past 6 Saturdays. About 3 weeks ago, we had a snow event. Came in on a Friday evening. We got about maybe 3 or 4 inches. And that Saturday, we had a basketball game here at the school. The lots were not plowed. And we had visiting school and visiting people. And the lots everywhere with the snow accumulation. Nothing put on a better face, we need to have it plowed. And I don't know who's responsible if they don't do it on the weekends or not, but maybe something to interact with the snow removal crew, correlate with school activities on Saturdays, so that way the lots are clear.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. Usually you would.
That was the day of our work session. That's now. That's Saturday morning.
Trying to think.
We had so much snow.
Normally.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, normally.
But it wasn't, I noticed, yeah.
We had a crew.
Yeah, there wasn't that day. So I don't know if that was just a one-day thing or.
Yeah. It must have been an oversight. I'm sorry that happened.
Yeah, I'm just making you aware that something did transpire, that, I understand things happen, but just kind
Right,
of making
yeah.
you aware that.
There was a game going on over.
Yeah, not to make
It was actually
excuses, but
it was the freshman tournament games, right? All during the day.
Yeah.
It wasn't a nighttime varsity game. It was a freshman tournament during the day. Because I remember, I went from here right down to the gym.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you all came through that day.
Yeah,
You and I were
they were all
checking.
parked every which way because they didn't.
I'll check on it, and sorry that happened. I can only say that, not to make excuses, but it's been a horrendous winter, and our plow guys have been, they've done a fantastic job other than that, because they've been really, had their work cut out for them.
So along with that snow removal, Setaway Drive, who's responsible for clearing that? Is that the city? Okay.
Speaking of that, we need to put a phone call on, they need to get the Durapatch or something out here. There's holes right here by the curb.
Thank you.
There's some big holes.
Just to Mr. Preet's point though, that snow that day was that morning and all throughout the day, and we had not just a school here, we had every school in the conference here, so at different times of the day. So it's probably a good idea that everybody understands like the protocol, hey, if it's coming down and we need to make a call to James or make a call to somebody to get somebody here
Right.
for our athletic directors or whoever, hey, who do I call when I see something going on that I need to make sure someone's here doing that?
I'll take full responsibility because I was here and I should have said something myself. That's my fault, so.
No, but everybody else, I mean, if you're not here, right?
Yeah.
And,
But
you know, whether it's
I was
Andy or
that
someone
day,
else, just say, just a number in that phone that I can call somebody and know that somebody's gonna come and salt the sidewalks and do whatever.
Yeah, but I was there that day and I should have, I guess I'm just getting so used to snow. that I'm thinking like, okay, here we go again. So,
And just, I guess this is an additional discussion item, but to your point about Durapatch on the streets, I noticed yesterday, and it's probably a result of the winter and stuff, and I don't know if this is somewhere we go with like permanent improvement funds or what, but the Sailorway parking lot is terrible. It's like a minefield.
James has got
Someone
that
has
on his
said that
list.
before, yeah.
we discussed that in the meeting with Mr. Reedy the other day, and we've got that on our list of what we need to address, think about what to do there. It's getting bad.
Yeah. It's a rough
And we gotta be careful that we don't lose it, because there's a point where if you let something get too bad, you could lose the lot.
Has the city brought their list of roads for this year?
No, they haven't yet.
No?
They put out what they're gonna do, but Sailor Drive's not on it.
Yes, I mean, the traffic signal's collapsing. It's,
Yeah, it's down.
It's probably
Where the
8
sensor
inches.
is?
Yeah, it's bad.
Well, the stop sign by there's a whole minefield there that everybody's going left to center.
Yeah.
To go around.
Straight out here.
Straight out, yes,
Yeah.
when you're going to Sanford though.
Right.
There's the ones that, when you make the turn, and then.
By the tree.
Yeah, by the tree.
Anybody else? Justin?
I'd like to commend Mrs. Lipson and all the staff. I got a report today on the bonds that some of us purchased to finance our thing, and I believe it was the end of the year, it was slightly above par, and it dropped just a couple points. I think it was toward the end of February, but I was really pleased about that. And there were members of our family that didn't think I should put any money into that, but I'm glad we did. And I hope I will live long enough to see them paid off.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, moving on. Item 13, date and location of upcoming board meetings, all held here. Regular meeting of Monday, April 13th at 7, Monday, May 11th at 7, and Monday, June 8th at 7. We okay so far? Okay, do we want to put a work session in April? Did you?
It wouldn't be a bad idea to start getting people's schedules.
Okay, so, would that be the 27th? So let's pencil in for Monday, or do you want to do it on Saturday? What do you guys prefer? Saturday morning? I mean, you're in softball.
I'm in season, so I can't tell you if any day's good or bad, honestly, because of the weather.
That's previous Saturday, I won't, I think when the band goes to
Oh,
Florida.
yeah, I'll be on time
We're
too.
going to Florida with.
Yeah, we are too.
You want to pencil in the 27th and have everyone check the calendar?
27th.
Let us know the next board meeting.
Yeah, check, and let me know. It's just for a work session. Everything else all right? Item 14, recommend a resolution to move into executive session for the purpose of the employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of public employees, and for the purpose of preparing for, conducting, or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with employees. Second?
9 o'clock.
Do you need
Mr. Dawson?
Yes.
Mrs. Ennis?
Yes.
Mr. Habermill?
Yes.
Mr. Harden?
Yes.
Yes, 8 o'clock.
Yes.
9
Oh, 9 o'clock.